Okay, thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon for our free webinar Intro to the Sterling Trader Pro platform for professional traders. Today's Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. So just before we get started, I do have to read this disclaimer, so bear with me just a moment, please. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Nothing presented today should be construed as investment advice or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any security or contract. Since we don't know everyone's investment objectives or risk tolerance, we are not endorsing any specific trading strategies. Security, derivative, and futures trading involves a substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Each investor must consider whether this is a suitable investment, since you may lose all of or more than your initial investment. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Lightspeed Financial Services Group LLC is not affiliated with these third-party market commentators or educators or service providers. Data, information, and material content are provided for informational and educational purposes only. This content neither is nor should be construed as an offer, solicitation, or recommendation to buy or sell any securities or contracts. Any investment decisions made by the user through the use of such content is solely based on the user's independent analysis, taking into consideration your financial circumstances, investment objectives, and risk tolerance. Lightspeed Financial Services Group LLC does not endorse, offer, nor recommend any of the services or commentary provided by any of the market commentators or educators or service providers, and any information used to execute any trading strategies are solely based on the independent analysis of the user. Thank you for listening. If you have additional questions on the demo or our platform or any of our other services, please contact sales@lightspeed.com and we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. So with that being said, I'm going to shift over to Jim, and he will be taking us all through the intro to the Sterling Trader Pro platform. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in this afternoon, and enjoy the presentation.
Great, thank you, Chris. One moment, everyone, while I take over. All right, great. So thanks, Chris, I appreciate it. I'd also like to say I'm glad you had to read the intro and not me. Nice. So listen, thanks. I appreciate Lightspeed giving us the opportunity to present the Sterling Trader Pro platform to everyone here. Lightspeed is a long-standing client of Sterling. We have a very, very close relationship. We've worked with everyone on the Lightspeed team for a long time, and we're very tight with them. So it's always great to do something where we can talk to either the end users or potential end users that are looking at using both firms. So thanks for that. The first thing I wanted to kind of point out, I'm going to go through Sterling Trader Pro. I'm going to take you through kind of what we would show as the most commonly used windows, what the stuff that we've learned over the years that traders want to see. But the one thing I wanted to do before I jump into that, I wanted to start with some of the resources that are available to you as an end user about the Sterling Trader Pro platform. First thing is, we do have a on the Sterling Trader Pro on the Sterling website, which is sterlingtradingtech.com, or you can go to sterlingtrader.com, which is what I usually do, and it'll redirect you. If you go to the platforms page, there is a try the free demo. You can try a demo of the platform at any point. If you click on that link, it'll ask for some basic information, and then that'll send you an automated email with login credentials for a 2-week trial period. I believe Chris will likely send a follow-up, but there is also information on the Lightspeed broker-dealer website that you can do the same thing as well. We also have a number of other education resources. So if you go to our website and you go to the resources page, we have a video link with it, which is our tutorial video series. There's some other roundtable video series and other stuff on here as well, but we have a series of video tutorials that covers some of our most commonly asked questions and some of the most common platforms. So for example, if you want to spend more time on, okay, what are the nuances of the level 2 window and how what does every field on the level 2 window tie out to, our level 2 window functionality video covers everything in detail. All of the videos here are 2 to 3 minutes or less. I don't want to sit through an hour-long video. I don't have the patience for it. I kind of want to learn what I need to learn and have something very targeted. And we know traders want to do the same. So, all of this information is available here. And then we also have a user guide for Sterling Trader Pro on our Sterling user guides section that you can click into. It's interactive and it'll cover in depth on a lot of the other windows as well. So we're going to talk about Pro. We're going to talk about the most commonly used stuff here now. But I want to just call out there are other resources for you as well to go deeper and to learn more about the platform. So assuming you can see my screen, here is, and Chris, speak up if there's something that doesn't look clear, but this is the default layout for Sterling Trader Pro. So if you're a new user, you'll get, when you install Sterling Trader Pro, you'll get Pro installed with a lot of kind of pre-configured settings, things like linking windows, hotkeys, stuff like that we'll talk about in a moment here. Starting at a very, very high level, Sterling is it's a series of free-floating windows, but we have them all linked together by default for ease of use. So, I can take one window and I can move it around on my screen, or I can break out and move individual windows and move them apart so that they operate separately. The reason we do that is because it's kind of, it makes it easy to use as one common layout that's organized, on your desktop. But when we get into trading rooms and when we work with end users, a lot of times what we find is, people will run Sterling either with other trading systems or they'll run it across multiple monitors. A typical setup for an active trader or a professional trader might be something where you have a couple of monitors that are full of watch lists and charts that you're using to look at and make trading, market data you're looking at to make trading decisions, and then another window that acts as your main kind of home screen where you're monitoring positions, you're monitoring your open orders, you're monitoring your level 2s, and you're using to place orders and move orders around. So you can open up as many copies of any of these windows as you would like. What I'm showing now is just kind of what you start off with in the in the standard demo layout. So I'm going to take, because these are kind of the most common windows, I'm going to start off walking through these windows, and then I'll get into some additional functionality that's not as obvious. So just kind of going from starting in the upper left-hand corner and moving across. First window is a stockwatch window. Stockwatch window is exactly what it sounds like. It's your watch list. It lets you view a lot of different pieces of information across a large number of symbols. You can do, there's last trend information. There's the open, high, low, close, the change, the last price, the bid ask, volume, everything that you kind of want to see, as a snapshot for a large number of symbols. You can organize this however you would like. You can organize it by sector. You can organize it by, tech stocks versus, other industry stocks, or you can have it just as, the stuff that you're interested in trading. You can pre-configure it. You can upload a list of symbols as well, so that you don't have to type everything in. But this is kind of your your dashboard of what you're looking at a high level for market data. I'm showing a handful of common elements, but there's also if you go into the view and the settings, you'll see basically, there's most of the data elements that you could ask for on a specific security are listed here, as well as some custom stuff. There's some kind of default things, like open, high, low, close, but then there's also some stuff we've done over the years. Like there's like you can see the bid ask spread. So if you're looking at symbols that you want to track the difference between the bid and the ask for, you can do that here and see what's the difference, what's the, if you're looking, say for example, like an Amazon or a commonly traded stock, typically the bid ask is a penny, but if you're looking at something more OTC, you may get wider spreads and you might want to track look at trading opportunities when spreads are wide. We have some custom windows in this, some custom functionality in this window to let you do that. The next, moving over to the right, is a chart window. So one of the things that we found a few years ago on charts is that a lot of people were using, we found a lot of pro users were also using third-party charting packages, eSignals or other charting packages. So we spent a lot of resources the last couple of years adding studies, adding functionality to make it very robust, just to make it easier for our traders, also to save traders money, and anything we can do to improve the package is good for us as well, of course. So our charts, you have a large number of different time frames going anywhere from a minute to monthly. You can also do up to 80 different studies. So anything from simple moving averages to VWAP, to Bollinger Bands, to RSI, to MACD. The majority of studies that I've heard of are listed in our charting package. And if there's something that traders want that we don't offer, we'll add it. A few years ago, we didn't offer the VWAP study. After talking to end users, we found that was something that people really wanted, that active traders really relied on as part of trading decisions. So we added that. So there's a lot of functionality around there. There's also some functionality in terms of how you view data. So for example, I like to look at data and have in my chart in the background called out what symbol I'm looking at and what time frame I'm looking at. But if you don't like that information, you can modify the settings here and you can remove that. One of the things we have is a time range. So for example, right now by default, we show market hours on our charts. And that's because obviously the bulk of the trading, the bulk of the moves happen during market hours. If you don't want that, you can simply take that off, and then you can look at the full 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern that securities are available to trade. So there's a lot of there's a lot of different functionality, or for example in the chart, where I'm talking about the listing the symbol, if I want to change the font on it, I can make it bigger. So there's a lot of stuff in our charts. We also have tab charts, so you can see these are the symbols that I was looking at today as I kind of clicked around, and then it makes it just quick and easy to click on one of the tabs and pull the chart back up. Over the course of the day, if I get too much, if I have kind of too many tabs here, I can just say, okay, remove them all, and I can refresh myself. Moving on to the next window, this is our time and sales window. I have it configured in the most, by default, we have it configured in the most common functionality, which is simply to show the last trade. You can also show the bid and ask. You can also look at multiple symbols in this, but basically this is going to show you every trade that takes place, during the course of a trading day. And then last, of course, on the right is our level 2 order entry window. There's pros and cons, and some traders prefer a level 2, some traders prefer a level 1. It's all really personal preference. They both essentially do the same thing in terms of entering orders. But what you have in a level 2 is, you have all your order entry information on the top. So you can see I'm looking at simple Groupon. My account is titled simply STT. I've got, my limit price right now is 46, which is the offer. I've got my time in force. I've got my order quantity, and then of course my short, sell, or buy buttons, depending on what order I want to take. And then I've got my execution destination. In this case, I'm defaulting everything to NASDAQ. Depending on your configuration, you might default to a smart route. You might default to to another exchange. It all kind of depends on what your style of trading is and where you want to send your orders, and how Lightspeed, what your configuration is with Lightspeed. And then below, I've got all of the different price levels by market center. So you can see ARCA, is on the bid at 44 and EDGX at 41. Obviously, we're in after hours now. During the day, this would be very active, and you would see this moving around much faster. And then it's also color coded by price level. So anything, every time you see a change in the price, there's a different, it's a different color level, which just kind of helps visually your eye track and see, how deep the book is, what's on the offer, and so forth. The other kind of cool thing that we do, and we do this again out of the box by default, is you can see in all of these windows, there's a square with a color block. In this case, we default to the first color in the list, which is yellow. Every window that you see that has the color yellow is linked together. So if I go to the stopwatch window, and this is what's useful as you're kind of, you're seeing things that are interesting, or you're watching things during the day, I can click on any symbol in my stopwatch, and it'll automatically update the chart, the time and sales, and the level 2 order entry window. So if I'm looking at, okay, what are the spies doing right now? I double click on it, I get the chart with all my pre-configured studies. In this case, I'm just looking at VWAP and volume. I see the time and sales and what's trading, and then I see the level 2 with all of the different price information. So it's just a way of kind of linking things around and navigating the markets quickly, so that you're not going in and manually changing a bunch of windows. That's what we call a linked group, and you can have as many of those as you want. So for example, right now I have everything color coded as yellow, but there's a huge number. I think it's something like 30 different linked groups I can have up and running at once, all color coded differently. And that's just something that traders do, to kind of help move things around. I also, you'll notice that in some of my other windows, I also have them color coded to yellow, and that's so that I can click through those windows as well, and pull up, if I'm in a position and I want to see, what the bids and the offers look like and what the chart looks like. That's another way to do that very quickly. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully I'm not going too fast, but I'm going to jump into some of the other windows as well now. So the position summary window is exactly like what it sounds like. This is where you track all of your current active positions. So this is going to show you your current position, and then a number of other information around your position. Obviously, the most important being your P&L on the position. So like some of the other windows, I'm showing some of the common data elements. But if I go into view and settings, then I can see, a lot of other data elements if I choose. If I want to track, the quantity I bought and sold, if I want to track, the change from the open, or what my opening position prices were, or the notional value of what I bought and sold, or the notional value of my position. I can do things like that. You can also add a number of other, if you're trading options, you can add the expirations. There's a lot of different pieces of information in all of these windows. So the point of that is really just that you as a trader, what information you care about. The platform will come pre-configured with a number of defaults, and then you can go in and customize all of it, as you see fit to whatever you're used to and whatever works for you. If you're used to trading on a different platform, the chances are that we have the same data elements available on our platform. Sometimes the naming convention may be exactly the same, sometimes it may be a little different, but over the years we've added all of the data that you would want to see around your positions. So in kind of in terms of how it will work, this will show all of your positions. Unreal simply means that it's an open position. Realized would mean that that's what you've closed on the position, and then total P&L is going to be what your total P&L. In this case, I'm looking at only open positions. But if I go in and I say, okay, I double click on Siri, and I can see I'm long 1,000 shares, and maybe I want to close out 500 of that position. I can say, okay, I'm going to close out 500. I hit sell. I get my order confirmation, making sure that I want to sell this position. I can turn a confirmation on or off. In this case, I have it on. I hit send, and then I've closed out half of my position, and I can go in and say, okay, my position, instead of being 1,000 shares, is now 500 shares, and I've got both unrealized P&L, realized P&L, and the total P&L, which is simply the combination of the two. If I move down below that, I can see my trading monitor window, which is where I see all of the orders that I've placed throughout the trading day. Including, the Siri order that I just placed, as well as the trades that I was doing earlier in the morning. So I've got all of my specific order level information here. And again, this is the most common element, but I can go to view, I can go to settings, and then I'll see a columns, and that lets me add all of the different order level data elements available. And then you'll also notice that we've got it organized in a series of tabs. So I've got an all orders tab, which is exactly what it sounds like, all orders that I've placed during the course of the day. I've got my open orders, which would be anything that I still have open and working. So for example, because I'm in my demo system, Microsoft is a symbol that doesn't fill in our demo system. It's what we call a test symbol, which lets you as a trader, just test out different behavior, test out hotkeys, which we'll talk about in a minute, but test different things. So if I place an order for Microsoft, it's not going to fill. And so I can see, if I go to my all orders tab, I see everything that I've done for the day. And then I go to the all order, then I go to the open orders tab, and I'll see just what's open right now. If I cancel the order, it goes away and it's no longer open, and I can go back to my all orders tab and I can see that it's canceled. On the executions tab, again, it's just like it sounds. These are the line item detail of every execution. So if I place an order for buy 1,000 shares of Facebook, and I get executed in 10 100 lots, then I'll see then on the orders tab, I'll see the total quantities, but on the execution tab, I'll see each individual 100 lot, so that I have a timestamp and I can see the full history of it. On any of these windows, you can double click and you'll get the full life cycle of the order. So here you can see the covering order that I placed for Siri. I see when I placed it, I see when I confirmed it, and then when it was executed. In this case, because this is a marketable order, you can see everything happened within the same second. If I look at Apple, which is an order that I had earlier, open from order earlier, you can see I placed it, I confirmed it, I had a partial fill early in the day, and then after hours I canceled it, and then I got my canceled URL out back from the exchange. So the full life cycle is available there as well. It's not nearly as commonly used, but also available. We have prior day executions and prior day orders. So if I'm trying to figure out, what was, maybe I'm trying to reconcile a brokerage statement, maybe I'm trying to look at, something I did yesterday, I can go back to either the prior day or I can go back to up to 40 calendar days, pick a given day, and then pull up that day's activity. Sometimes it's useful to traders, sometimes it's not. It's good to know, what you have and what's available in your platform. Moving on to some of the other common windows, we have top 10 windows, which are also pretty useful to traders looking for, kind of what's active, what's moving. So in this case, I have I go to my top 10 list. I can pick by market. We offer US, Brazil, and Canadian market data. The majority of our trading and all of our trading with Lightspeed is on the US markets, but it's out there. And then we have a series of different top 10 lists that you can look at throughout the day. We have most active, which is exactly what it sounds like, just what's trading the most, what's the most active throughout the day, what's doing the heaviest volume. The biggest gainers and losers based on notional value, and the biggest gainers and losers based on percent. Within any of these lists, you can select them, you can look at them, you monitor them throughout the day, and then they'll update with a lot of the with the different data elements, as well as the last trend for the trading data. Obviously now we're in the post market, so nothing is really moving significantly. But you can see, if you look at like the top 10 most active, during the day, this was moving around quite a bit. As with some of the other windows, you can go to view and settings, and you can change the different data elements that you look at and configure it to what makes sense for you. And again, as is common with the others, you can look at as many of these windows as you'd like. The other windows that are worth mentioning here, we have exchange alerts. So this is where you'll see the pre-market opening cross indications and the end of day imbalance information. And this is a pretty, it's a pretty useful window for people that trade the opening and closing crosses. You can look at it on a per symbol basis. Here you can see I have it linked to my stock watch and my other linked group windows. So as I click through, it will pull up whatever the current imbalance information is for a given symbol. But you can also look at it. You can also take it out of a linked group, look at it on its own, and just see what's coming across. You can also load what a lot of times what people do, what our traders will be doing is they may have a list of whether it's 5, 10, 20, 30 stocks that they're looking at. They can load a symbol list, and then they can look at, okay, what am I looking at? And they can look at it with multiple symbols. They can load a symbol list and configure it to say, okay, I want to look at, these 10 symbols, for the day or for the week or for whatever my time frame is, and I want to see everything that comes in on the, on the imbalances for this list of symbols, and they can configure it that way. And then they've got, kind of one spot where they can see everything. It's pretty useful. That's one of the, that's kind of one of the core windows that our traders use. We also have a fundamental data window, which is useful, kind of depending on what you're looking to do as a trader. But it'll show, depending on the symbol, it will show you short interest, but a lot of basic information. What's your average volume? What's the market cap? As well as the current quote information. Some of that window is also available in the Stockwatch window. It's another way of looking at it, and some things like short interest are only available in the fundamental data window. And then the last window that we have that I'll talk about before we jump into settings is the clock. The clock is not necessarily the most exciting of technology. Obviously, we all have clocks. The reason this window is important and the reason we have it as part of our default layout is because one of the settings that we have on by default is to display server time. So the reason that matters is because your local PC suffers from clock drift. So if you leave your PC running over time, over a long enough period of time, your local PC will drift from what the atomic clock shows, what the real time is. Now, it may not drift by much. It may be only a matter of seconds. But if you're trading, and especially if you're trading around the open, around the close, seconds matter. Real time information matters. Our clocks are synced. I believe it's 3 times a second. With the atomic clock. I may be wrong on the exact calculation, but they're essentially continuously synced. Our servers are essentially synced with the atomic clocks continuously. That's not only something that's important for us on the technology side, but that's something that's required by the regulators. And so by syncing your platform with our servers, you're continually synced with the atomic clock by default. So that's why we have it by default, is we always want a trader using our platform to know what the current time is, and not have someone have their platform set on the on a different time zone, and get confused if you're in the East Coast and you're traveling on your laptop to the West Coast, and you switch your operating system, you can get confused. This will always show in Eastern time what the current what the current atomic clock is. Again, not the craziest of functionality, but it's something that we think is important. So couple of the other things that we'll to just highlight. We've talked a little bit about setting up link groups, talked a little bit about the chart studies. I would encourage you to play around with those types of things, because it's that kind of stuff is very configurable and matters a lot to how you trade. The other big thing to talk about is hotkeys. So in your main toolbar, which is what's down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you can go to View and then Settings. This takes you to your global settings window. That's the default for kind of all of your different platforms, all of your different platform windows and how things, and how you view things and how your settings are. There's some things you can play around with, like for example, if you're someone that trades a lot of sub-penny stocks, you may want to expand the number of default decimal places that you view things at. There's some kind of settings that you can play around with that. But one of the big things that you'll want to look at, or you may want to look at depending on your style, is your hotkeys. So this is something that that our active trader audience, which is really the core audience for Sterling, uses quite a bit. So the way hotkeys work, for those of you that, if you're not familiar with them, hotkeys are just keyboard shortcuts. So if you think, rather than me saying, okay, I want to look at Siri, and I'm going to click over in my stock watch, and then I'm going to go over and I'm going to look at my level 2, and I'm going to say, okay, let me click on the ask, and I want to do a buy at the ask, and I want to change my quantity from 500 to 1,000 shares, and I want to send it to bats. All of that takes time. You're clicking through, you're manually configuring the order entry window. Then you do all of that, and then you go back and you hit the buy button and you place the order. With a hotkey, you can speed all of that up. And there's a number of different ways to do it, but a hotkey is simply keyboard shortcuts to take the place of point and click actions with your mouse. Some traders love it, some traders hate it. The point is it's there and it's available to you if you're interested in it. We have basically two types of hotkeys. We have configurable hotkeys that you can create. That's all that is shown in the white text at the top of this. And then we have hotkeys that are tied to specific functionality. These are ones that you can set or not set, but you can't really tweak the functionality. So you'll see things like cancel all, for example. Cancel all is Alt A. So if I go in and I go back to Microsoft, which is one of our test symbols, and I place several orders to buy, that will then go on the book and are working. Rather than, I want to double check what my hotkey was for that, which is obviously very important. You need to make sure you know what hotkeys you're using. All right, so Alt A is my current default for cancel all. So I go in, and rather than going through and clicking each individual order, I just say, oh, you know what, cancel them all, and I hit Alt A. I get a pop-up, which I can again turn on or off, and then it sends cancels on all of that. Now, there's times where you may want to do that for some orders, you may want to do it for other orders, but you may also have an event where some big news comes out and you don't want to have open orders working in the market because you don't know what's going to happen, and you just cancel. You want to cancel everything. In that case, Alt A would be my fail safe. Get rid of, cancel everything that I've got. Other types of hotkeys that you can set are, you can set things for tabbing through windows, or canceling specific orders. You can set hotkeys around taking orders and increasing the price or increasing the quantity. A lot of times, traders will tie those to their arrow keys so that if they click on an order and they click up, it increases a price by a penny. If they click down, it decreases it by a penny. If they click left, if they click right, it increases the quantity. It decreases the quantity. Those are pretty commonly used hotkeys. But everything is here for a reason, and that's because at some point, some trader said, hey, it would be cool if I could take this action quickly. None of these work for, none of these appeal to every trader, but they're all here because some trader at some point asked for them. If you choose to use hotkeys, what I would recommend is, get a demo either from the Sterling Trader website or from the Lightspeed broker-dealer website, and play around with them in demo. You don't really want to play around with hotkeys in production. It's better to just try things in demo, get things configured, and then you port that your demo instance over to production. I would also encourage you to go through, and any hotkeys that you don't want to use, you can remove. So for example, if I don't want to do if I don't want my short hotkey, I double click. I can see the function is short. I've got a brief description, which is just short the selected stock. I've got the current hotkey. I simply hit the backspace in this window, and then it says new hotkey is none. I hit OK, and then you can see short is no longer available. If I want to change it, so say for example, quick change is another one where you can display a quick change pop-up. It's currently configured for the space bar. Maybe I want to use it. Maybe I don't. Maybe I want to use, the space bar for something else, and I still want to use this. So I say, okay, Control Q, and I'll change it from the space bar to Control Q. I hit OK, and if in the instance that I have another hotkey already set to that, I'll get a pop-up that says, that's already being used by something else. But you can go in, you can turn on the functionality you want. You can turn off the functionality that you don't. The other thing that you can do is you can say, you can place hotkeys on order entry. We've got a handful pre-configured, but you can create your own. In this case, it's one of the pre-configured ones we have is a buy for 1,000 shares at the symbol current. That simply means whatever symbol I'm looking at in my order entry window is the current symbol. You can code that for specific symbols. Current is typically what people use though. And then the price, here I have it set for market. If you don't want to do market orders, you don't have to do market orders. You can say, okay, I'm going to set it, I'm going to set it to buy, either at whatever the current bid price is, which in this case for Microsoft would be 260.21. Or I could say, okay, if it's the buy, I want it to hit the ask, and I'm going to set it to, hit the current ask price, and then in this case, it would send it out at 260.35 because that's the current ask. I typically leave the rest of these as defaults for my default account, for my default destination, unless you have, destination-specific strategies, or unless you're trading multiple accounts. That's typically what makes the most sense. You'll notice also here, we've got the ability to set a name. In this case, I'm going to just set a name, and I'm going to call it buy _1000. And then the hotkey is F3. So I'm going to hit OK. I've got this order set. It's got a name. I've also got another buy 100 at the bid. And then, and then I'm going to go through and I'll show you what that means, what you can do with those if you want. So the reason they have names is we have a concept called the hot button bar. So if I go to view and then I go to, where is my hot button bar? I go to my hot button bar setup. I can take any hotkey that I've assigned a name to, and I can create a button with it. So if I say, sell short 100 market, sell position at market, and then my buys, I can then configure each of those. So say, for example, I want my sell side buttons to be in red, and I want my buy buttons to be in blue. I can configure that on the default. I hit OK, and then I have buttons here that take the place of hotkeys. So it's just a visual confirmation of I want pre-configured actions, but instead of hitting a hotkey and using a keyboard, I'm used to using my mouse, and I want to use my mouse for everything. So it's some traders love it, some traders don't use it, but it's there if you want it. And then the last thing before I wrap up, because we're running into time, but the last thing that I want to show you is on your settings. This is really important for traders in terms of what messages you want to see. So if I go down to messages, all of these things are, all of the checkboxes here tie to various pop-ups. So previously when I sent an order, I had the display confirmation message checked when sending an order, which simply means if I hit buy, if I hit sell, I get a pop-up that says, you're about to send this order, this symbol, this price, that would use up this much buy power, and I hit OK to send or cancel to not send. Some traders love it, some traders hate it. A lot of times with active traders, They don't want any pop-ups because they want to hit the bid, they want to hit the ask, they want to be in the market, they want to be really quick. Speed is really important to them. Sometimes though, we'll have traders that are doing more position trading, or they're not trading as actively. And then in that case, they do want to see a confirmation. They want to make sure that they get the chance to review an order before it goes out to the market, because they don't want to run the risk of, hitting something on accident, having an order go out, and end up either, in a new position or covering a position that they didn't intend to. You can also take those actions on canceling an order, on replacing an order, on canceling multiple orders, and so forth. The point there is really just, this is customizable. You can customize this however you want it. We also have what we call soft warnings, and those are warning messages placed to make sure that you don't place orders too far away from the market. So if I have a message that's set to to 50 cents above the ask as my warning, if I place an order and I say I'm placing an order to, whether it's to buy or sell, and I say it's, the market's 260, the ask is 260 spot 35 as it is with Microsoft now, and I typo it and I place an order at 360 spot 35, this will give me the pop-up. It's really meant for, kind of for fat fingers, so that, you don't place an order and accidentally sweep the market because you typoed a price or you typoed a quantity. So that's what's that's kind of what these buttons are for, or this section is for. It's really just for, what do you want to see when you place an order, when do you want to see when you cancel an order, and then what fat finger checks do you want in place, just as kind of a something to help yourself avoid mistakes when you're doing a lot of things quickly. And that would be so that, and I'll turn this back over to you, Chris. That pretty much covers it. That's kind of a high level overview. Like I said at the beginning, we do have a number of training videos. We have a lot of information in our user guide. All of the different settings, all of the different windows are covered very in depth on the user guide. So if you have questions about, how do I want to go deeper in hotkeys, I want to learn more about that, watch the hotkey video. If you have more questions about, all right, I'm trying to figure out whether I want to use a level 1 or a level 2 order entry window, watch the order entry videos. You can get get very granular on that. And then if you have questions around like, well, what's this? I see a column in in the position summary window, and I don't really know what that means or what the calculation is for it. Then you can go in and say, okay, here's the calculation for the various calculated windows, and here's the explanation of the different data elements. So thanks everyone. We appreciate your time. Time is valuable, and this has been great. We're always happy to partner with Lightspeed. So Chris, back to you.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. I was wondering if you had a couple minutes, just real quick, 5 minutes to answer a few questions here that came up in the chat during the presentation.
Absolutely. Fire away.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So Mr. Michael here was wondering if you had any idea when Sterling may be getting 10-second charts.
Sorry, 10-second charts, did you say?
Yes, 10-second charts.
We've not. That's an interesting question because we really haven't had. We honestly haven't had requests to do anything below a minute. All I got is something to take away and look at. We've not actually ever looked at doing anything below a minute, but that's an interesting question. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but we can take that away.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Amit is wondering how you can change the colors in the level 2 data window.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad he asked. You can change the colors in the level 2 windows. You can change the colors in most of the windows. The way to do it is you go to View and then Settings. And then in here, we have a number of predefined color schemes. So you can see the colors here, and there's a drop down. We've got Classic, which is similar to what we do offer by default. Which by default we do soft. Classic is similar. It's just a little more vibrant. And then we also have we have very different ones. Some I like, some I don't like. but it's all about your personal preference. But you can see, you know, as you kind of flip through them, you can pick and choose your different pre-configured ones. You know, some are, you know, it all depends. You know, some are more dramatic than others. There's also something that you can do. If I go back to, you know, so say I go back to, let's see, say I go back to the beginning, the soft one. Actually, I'm going to go to classic because it's a little more dramatic. You can also flip the text in the background color. So, you know, so if I don't want to see the different price levels, I want to see it based on, you know, the color of the characters, you know, I can see it that way as well. I actually think this view looks really cool, but I think it, you know, it's not what traders are used to, so not everyone likes it. The other thing, beyond clicking back and forth through these, you don't have to use any of the pre-configured color schemes at all. You know, you can set, you can create your own. You can just pick and choose your colors, and, you know, set things however, you know, set the colors to whatever you want them to be. Create your own color scheme, and then hit OK. And then it's, you know, I chose kind of an ugly color scheme by random because I was clicking through, but you can create, you know, whatever color scheme that you want to create. One of the other things that I should have mentioned that I'm realizing I didn't is if you make changes to your layout, you make changes, you tweak windows, you change your color schemes in your level 2, or you say, you know, you take columns and you drag and drop them around the configuration you want. The one thing you also want to do is you want to go back and you want to go to the main toolbar and go to Actions and Save Layout. And then you'll get a pop-up that says, I saved this layout successfully. Layout's something that I should have talked about, and I'm realizing just now that I didn't. But you save your layout, and that configures and saves all of your settings. So if you go through the time to configure custom level 2 colors or to set your default specific ways, you log out and log back in, all of those changes are saved. You can also save different layouts. So say, for example, you know, I sometimes may trade on my laptop. I sometimes may trade, you know, on a giant monitor or at home with multiple monitors. I can have different layouts based on my different configurations for, you know, where I'm logged in from. So that was
addressing that as well.
Glad you had asked.
Great. Okay, so we've got just a few more here, and we'll let you go. Mr. Fred here was wondering if this is if this would work on an M1 MacBook Pro.
So as of right now, that's also a really good question. As of right now, Sterling Trader Pro runs only on Microsoft environments. We do anticipate, although I could not put any sort of reliable time frame on it right now. We do anticipate doing a Mac compatible version. That's something that we have had demand for, and we have, with the rise of Apple and consumer products, we all have Mac products in our home for the most part. We use a lot in our house as well. So for Mac users, they can kind of, there's a couple of things. We have a web-based trading platform that has a similar look and feel to Sterling Trader Pro. A lot of Mac users will use our web trader platform instead of Sterling Trader Pro, which we also have information on our website and videos on and tutorials on. Or they'll run in an emulator environment, so they'll run the Microsoft instance on their MacBook, and then utilize Sterling within that. I know traders that have done that, and they've done that successfully, and that's how they trade. I don't, because I'm not a big Mac guy, I can't speak very intelligently, but if you Google it, you can probably find more information about how to do that.
Thank you for addressing that as well. I have Mr. Michael here was having some issues with his hotkey orders, it looks like. So he said that he wants to know, how do you set a stop limit loss with hotkeys, and does that limit loss then allow a range of prices that the order can be sold at?
So in terms of setting a stop limit, let's jump into the hotkeys and look at that. So I'm going to just say I'm going to add a hotkey, and let's see. I will say current default current. Not sure. Okay, so this is where I would, the price type is where you would select stop limit. And then you would select the stop limit price here. You can either put a hard-coded price in here. More likely, you would probably do the, a last or a bid in the ask. But basically, this would be where you would put the, I would want to play around with this. So I would encourage, if you're having trouble, get a demo and play around with this before you use it in production. I believe the price is the trigger price, and then the stop limit that you want it to go out as, and then if your limit price is hit, then you would send the, then it would go out as a, based on whatever your, whether you want it to go out at last or the bid or the ask. But I would play around with that in demo as opposed to production. And that's something we could follow up with you, Chris, to give you a little more direction on that. I just don't want to give anyone wrong advice, and I haven't played around with the stop limit functionality in this for a bit. In terms of placing a range of orders, that's something that will be available later in the year. We don't offer conditional or bracket orders right now, but that is something that's in our active development. So somewhere between now, it's likely a Q3, potentially an early Q4 development, but we'll be able to do conditional orders, meaning, say I enter a position in a symbol and I want to have I want to have both a working order as a target exit, and then also a stop limit on the downside. So I could place I could buy, and then I could have a working sell as my target price, and then I could have a sell below the market as my stop limit sell out, and then you can do kind of conditional orders around that. That's not available in the software now. That is something that we will have between now and the end of the year. So I hope that answered. I hope that answered his questions. If not, we can always go deeper on that offline.
Thank you for addressing that as well. Mr. Jeff would like to, or excuse me, Anthony wants to know if the platform can handle futures contracts.
We don't offer futures right now. We have in the past, but we don't have futures currently. You can view futures market data. So if you're interested in seeing, what are the E-minis doing, as another indicator of the market, just like the Dow, you can do that, but we don't currently offer futures trading.
Okay, and Philip would like to ask if there was a way to create custom scanners based on specific criteria. So if so, can the results populate the stockwatch window as well?
So the answer is yes, there is some custom scanning ability. There's a couple of scanning options that you can set. One is in the quotes menu. There's a scanner here that will show. There's not a lot in this particular scanner because this is still in its early stages. But you can scan based on 52-week high and lows or intraday high and lows, and then you can color code things based off of that. It does not pre-populate into the stock window, but it can be linked to your other windows. So it won't populate in the stock watch, but it can pre-populate so that if I click through on the scanner, I just need to set my click-through event. So that if I click through in the scanner, it'll update into my chart, my level 2 and my level 1, because that's part of my linked group here. We also do have an alerts window. I do not know if I'm configured for it or not. I am configured for it. So we also have an alerts window where you can set specific conditions that you're looking for. So if I want to add an alert and I say, okay, just Microsoft, I'm going to use a very rudimentary example. You can do more complex examples, and I'm going to just say, for very rudimentary purposes, if Microsoft is the symbol, and I say when the last price, I'll say hits a new 52-week high, and then I can say and the volume hits a new, I'll say, just for the 52-week high as well, so I can say, okay, if I'm hitting highs on the price and the volume, I can either display a notification message, or I can display an alert, or I can log it in a separate window. It's pretty common text. It's not a hardcore scanner. It's not to compete with, a trade ideas or a tip ranks or something along those lines. But it lets you set a number of different parameters that you can set and get alerts when, when specific price actions are triggered.
Okay, great. And just last one here before we let you go. I know time is running short. Thank you for staying and answering these questions. I appreciate it. John would like to know how you could view if a stock is shortable or not.
Yes, so that's another great question that I didn't address. In the level 2 window, so we get every day Sterling receives from Lightspeed a list of shortable symbols, and that's something we get kind of in the middle of the night before the markets open, and we load it into the symbol. We load it into our back end. If your account is configured to short a symbol, there is a ETB indicator in the bottom of the level 2. So if you look at the level 2 for, I'm looking at BABA, you can see in the bottom it says ETB. If you see that ETB, that means it is shortable. Now I'm in my demo system. I think I have myself configured so everything is shortable. I don't know if I'm going to show if I have an example where it's not. But basically, you can see some of the other tabs in the bottom of this window are blank. If it's not shortable, it'll be blank. If it's shortable, it will show up there. And it's just a great way to make it really easy to say, okay, can I short? I'm looking at the stock. Can I short it? And if you see ETB in the bottom of the window, then the answer is yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your time today, Jim. We appreciate it very much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. And before we go ahead and wrap things up on the webinar here, I do want to just let everybody know that we do have a promo currently that we are running. The code for this is 10K2021. We will rebate you 50% of your equities and options commissions within the first 3 months of your account being opened, up to $10,000 cash back. So please keep in mind the balance in your account has to remain at or above 25K the entire promotional period for 90 days. And after that period, then within 45 days of the end of the promo period, the rebate will be deposited directly into your account. One more thing too, if you would like to sign up for a demo, you can also do it through our website. I know Jim showed you how to do one for Sterling through their website as well. Here we have the Lightspeed Trader platform available here and a couple other of our platforms that we offer too. So thank you again, Jim, and thank you everybody for tuning in this afternoon. We appreciate it, and we hope you learned a thing or two. And also spend some time taking a look at those Sterling videos on their website. And we also do have a YouTube channel available for you as well. So that being said, everybody, thank you again for your time and have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Chris. Have a great day.